The guys are gonna find Bombsight. Look at the V1. You're not dying.
Why are you so certain Bombsight will come here?
We're out of time, mate.
I know you, Butcher. There's no way this doesn't end bloody.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. The boys dropped a brand new Season 5, Episode 6 trailer video. There's a whole bunch of new footage, Easter eggs, WTF moments, so we will break it all down. Now that we're past the Supernatural reunion, we can get back to Homelander being the one that does most of the crazy stuff on the show. You can always tell things have gotten real weird on the boys when Homelander is like the least degenerate person in an episode. Starting at the beginning of the trailer footage, we get Huey talking to Annie about how they're very hopeful about what's going to happen next. Like, oh, we're going to find Bombsight, the boys will find the V1, we'll keep Homelander from getting it. That's their plan right now. So he's trying to reassure her. But then they cut that with footage of Butcher and the other boys running up in the dark on this big field here. And I think it's connected to this scene of Homelander shooting this giant laser blast into the sky like he has just gotten the V1 because there's a broken vial, probably a V1, right behind him that he has just found a way to take. I know there are a couple logistical questions about that too. If he were to get the V1 and take it, how would he even inject himself because he is so strong, like his skin is so strong? I'm sure the episode has a way of explaining that. You also notice that Huey is wearing a Billy Joel t-shirt, which is meant to be a callback to he and Annie bonding in the car with Mother's Milk, singing Billy Joel, which he also talked about in another trailer too. Like there was a little funny scene of Butcher yelling at him for talking about Billy Joel too much. When he also mentions the V1, you also see Homelander looking inside a test facility here, like inside this lab with someone. It seems like they're dosing with the V1 to see if it works on him, and it looks like it just completely wrecks this person. As Sage explained earlier this season to Homelander and Soldier Boy, the reason why Vought stopped using the V1, even though it was stronger, more potent, and created immortal superheroes, was because it was so unstable and most of the people that took it wound up dying in horrible, horrible ways, and only a handful of people out of thousands wound up surviving. Soldier Boy, Stormfront being some of those people, including Bombsight and Soldier Boy's original team during the 1950s that we'll see on this Vought Rising TV show, which is also why so much of this trailer leans on Bombsight in the Soldier Boy backstory that they've been seeding along the season to set up that prequel show, because the Bombsight character who we finally see show up in this episode is going to be on that prequel show.
Why are you so certain Bombsight will come here?
V1 stops them from aging. That's why he looks exactly like he's going to look during the Soldier Boy prequel show, with just like a slightly different costume probably. You also notice Sage is with Homelander here as they're testing the serum on this person here, this human guinea pig. Just last week, she was telling Ashley that she didn't want Homelander to get the V1, so I'm assuming that she's doing everything she can to try and throw this off the rails so it doesn't work the way that Homelander wants it to work, and he gets more worried, or she's hoping that he gets worried and doesn't want to take it because he thinks that it'll kill him. They also might address the other question of Homelander in a previous episode, telling her to find a way to recreate the V1 because she's meant to be the smartest person alive, so why wouldn't she know how to recreate the V1? The answer to that was in last week's episode when she told Ashley, I don't want Homelander to get it, so she's been purposefully trying to prevent it from being recreated. I also wouldn't be surprised if she's the person who was behind Bombsight stealing the last V1 from Fort Harmony before Homelander could show up and get it. We get a real weird scene of the Deep covered in what seems like an oil spill here. Not sure what's happening in the context here because you only see him from like the chest up, but he's just covered in oil like there's been some giant oil spill. Most of the Deep's plot line in the last couple of episodes have been all about his feud with Black Noir too, so I'm assuming this has something to do with that storyline just escalating. When you see the person crashing into the field in the dark here, I believe that's meant to be Bombsight because it seems like he does the same thing in a later scene too when he crashes and shows up to meet the boys. Then we see them in a different scene in a warehouse and Frenchie asking Butcher, why are you so certain that Bombsight is going to show up because they're probably going to try and get the V1 from him. And I think they're implying that Bombsight is in love with this person, or maybe this is his wife or his lover or something like that, and that's why he's showing up. Pretty easy way to ensure that somebody shows up, steal the person they love. Also another example of Butcher crossing some lines, doing something that's a little bit despicable if it means getting Homelander. Doing all these terrible things because it means ultimately stopping Homelander, or at least in his eyes. We get a real quick scene at what seems like Vought villages. I'm assuming this is a Vought-run retirement community for older superheroes and just older people in general. Maybe this is where they stash older superheroes too. So maybe this is where Bombsight has been hanging out and that's why they're here. But not totally clear what's going on in this scene here with this person's hands on fire. Maybe this is like a version of Pyro on the show or a version of Molten Man. Bombsight then does show up inside the warehouse where the boys prophesied that he would show up to save whoever this person is that he is in love with. We see Butcher attack another older superhero in this retirement community who has force field abilities like Sue Storm Invisible Woman abilities. Maybe that's one of the gags of this retirement home is like all the different older characters just have crazy superpowers and they act to defend themselves against the boys. We get a real quick scene of Butcher with Huey saying we're out of time. I'm assuming this is part of the plan to go after Bombsight, the retirement community. Like, we need to capture this person that he do these terrible things, and that Huey is not totally on board with. Right after they had an episode where they had a real nice moment together where it seemed like they were chilling on each other, one of their big arguments in previous seasons, especially this season too, is that Huey did not like all the really messed up stuff that Butcher was doing. Not totally sure what's happening here with Soldier Boy clocking Homelander. You can let me know in the comments what you think is happening here, because they also just came together like they bonded big time in last week's episode. Then they bring back the legend Paul Reiser's character from previous seasons based on the comic book version of the character. On the show, though, he was Madeline Stillwell's predecessor at Vought during the 70s and 80s, the vice president managing all the different superheroes, including Soldier Boy, before they gave him to the Russians. In the comics, the legend doesn't work for Vought. He's just an information broker who just knows everything about every superhero, and he's more of a reference to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, real-life comic book legends. Butcher mentioned him in a previous episode, saying that they looked to him for help, and it sounds like they're just hoping that he knows how to find Bombsight because he knows everything about everybody in the world of the show. And his line is basically foreshadowing the finale of The Boys. Knowing you, Butcher, there's no way this doesn't end bloody. The actual title of the finale is Blood and Bone, which is a reference to a speech given by Homelander during the Payback episode in a previous season, where he suggested that he and Butcher share a fate that is a little more scorched earth, shock and awe, blood and bone. Hyping up their big final battle, however that winds up going down. I'm expecting a lot of twists with that, but we still have a couple episodes to go, so we'll have a much better idea, much better clues about how they're going to end the show by the time we get to the end of episode 7. While the legend is telling Butcher that this is going to end badly for everybody for the most part, we see a scene of Annie attacking O-Father and him using his sonic cry ability on her inside the place where he broadcasts his show from. You can see his thrones in the background, there's a bunch of cameras off stage behind him around here. Not totally sure why Annie is here fighting with him and how this connects to the main A story with the V1. We get a much better look at how Bombsight's power actually works as he attacks Butcher, and he's basically like a human bomb, like his body is super strong and he can fly, so that's why he drops himself like he lands kind of like a bomb. So part of the idea here is that he's attacking Butcher as if he's throwing a missile himself at Butcher. It also seems like Soldier Boy is fighting him here in this same facility, like it's the same warehouse where Bombsight shows up, and Soldier Boy just also happens to be here. So they're just paying off the end of last week's episode where they learned that Bombsight had the V1, they were going to track him down, and Soldier Boy was going to get the V1 and give it to Homelander so that he could take it. So we also get a knockdown drag-out fight between Bombsight and Soldier Boy, former teammates, but it's not totally clear why Bombsight is trying to keep it away from Soldier Boy if it doesn't have anything to do with Sage. Sage would be like the reason for that to happen. My assumption is this is more plot that they're just seeding for the prequel Vought Rising TV show that they'll explore during that, in some relationship that they'll imply that they'll cover during that show, like this big history between the two of them that they'll spend more time on the Vought Rising prequel show dealing with. It really does seem like they've hijacked a lot of the Season 5 plot to make Soldier Boy a much more prominent character in service of this Vought Rising prequel show. Like they turned him from more of a one-note joke meme type of character when they first introduced him in Season 3 to a much more complex character, I think, that's able to actually lead his own spin-off show, building a character out in a more complex way, the way you would need to have to sustain an actual spin-off show for multiple seasons, because they did say that Vought Rising prequel show is going to run for multiple seasons, but they didn't say how many. So if you're wondering why they're focusing on Soldier Boy so much during this final season, that's why. Now everybody let me know in the comments if you think that he winds up surviving the finale. Because if Homelander gets the V1, he'll be immune to the virus, meaning that almost nothing will be able to stop him except for Soldier Boy's ability to depower people with his energy blast. That would be the only way to get rid of Homelander, is to depower him, making it easier for them to contain or kill him if they do want to kill him, or if they want to leave him alive, he would basically be no threat to anyone without any powers. So it would be the case for Soldier Boy potentially surviving at least to the very end of the finale so that he could do something like that if that is the direction they go, like the Fire Lord Ozai ending for the show, where they depower Homelander and just throw him in prison forever. Just expect a couple real big twists with the way they end the show in the last couple of episodes. This is also what all the jokes from the Worm character were about. He's meant to be a surrogate for the actual writers of the show, like they're parodying themselves through the Worm's character because he kept ranting about how all of his finales that he had done, and generally Hollywood finales, were bad episodes of TV.
Okay, I had to service 14 main characters and cross over a bunch of assholes from the Avenging Squad prequel.
So Eric Kripke, the showrunner of The Boys, is trying to couch people's expectations for the finale. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below and your death predictions for these last couple of episodes. My full episode 6 video will post this Wednesday morning after they release it, so be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss that. Also a reminder that the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 finale is happening on Tuesday night, so my video will post after they release that as well too. And now that we are getting closer to the end of The Boys main series, maybe they'll start talking more about this Jensen Ackles prequel show, Vought Rising, with Stormfront and all the other characters during the 1950s. We're supposed to be getting episodes around this time next year, maybe a little bit sooner too, so hopefully we won't have to wait that long before we actually get new Boys next year. Everybody click here for my full episode 6 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for all my other big trailer videos and Boys episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.